Thank you so much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having us, Peter, and good evening to you and to the viewers of SABC.
Are you encouraged by the envoys that have been sent to Eswatini? Do you think that this might help?
Well, Peter, I think being encouraged is too generous a term. I must just say that we are welcoming the move. We have had an interaction with a delegation from SADC Troika early in July, after more than 8 of our people were massacred by Mswati. And it wasn't the best of experiences. So I wouldn't want to use the word encouraged, but we welcome the decision by the new chairperson of Troika, and we are looking forward to interacting with them.
What will your message be to the envoys?
Well, our message to the envoys will be very clear. Come with an open mind. Be willing to consult with all stakeholders. But most importantly, give an ear to the victims and the families of those who were killed. There are many Swazis who lost their limbs. There are many Swazis who were arrested. There are many Swazis who were brutalized and tortured. If they could give an ear to those people, they will really get a true picture of what really is happening on the ground here.
Do you think that the king will listen, or he's just going through the motions so that it can be seen to be happening rather than an actual movement?
I doubt that he's listening. He has proven over and over again that he is not a listening leader. I would be pleasantly surprised if he were to listen. And I hope that President Ramaphosa did not send the envoy because he has the mistaken belief that he's dealing with a listening king here. But he sent the envoy because he understands that what is happening on the ground is not in the best interest of SADC and the continent as a whole.
As you said, it wasn't that long ago where the authorities were again very heavy-handed with citizens. But for some reason, things may be a little bit different this time. Children have been on the front line this time, much more. And secondly, we're hearing from the UN Secretary General on this issue. Does that add more weight, do you think, to maybe a different outcome this time?
We are hoping that the growing voices will indeed contribute to more weight. But I must say, Peter, that what is depressing is the reality on the ground. What is the reality of the ground? I've just finished a meeting with a member of parliament who was sharing with me how young people in his constituency were brutalized by the soldiers just yesterday because they had placed some stones on the road in one of the constituencies called Nkilongo. 9 of them are currently in prison, having been heavily assaulted, and he was sharing with me how the community is hoping to bail them out tomorrow when they appear before court. I'm sure you must have seen the footage of public service workers being brutalized, a tear gas thrown into a bus, 2 buses, people having to jump through the windows, and as they were running away from the tear gas being shot, some with live ammunition. These are instances of just yesterday. Today, as we were speaking, in one of the townships where people were brutalized yesterday, a township of Msunduza, people were shot again today. So the brutalization of our people on the ground is continuing, irrespective of the growing voice, which is more concerning for me.
The Deputy Prime Minister said that the authorities have not used any live ammunition. What do you say to that claim?
I have always known that the Deputy Prime Minister is a man who's fond of lying. But I never thought, even though I knew he was a liar, that he would stoop so low and be so shameless at the face when images have gone viral of people who have been shot with live ammunition. 2 nurses who are members of the nurses union had to be rushed to theater because they had been shot with live ammunition yesterday. Teachers had been shot with live ammunition, were brutalized yesterday. You must remember, Peter, who is the Deputy Prime Minister? We're talking about a man where when over 30 Swazis had been shot at the time, he said to the world only one person had been shot. It was only when images and families were coming out to confirm that more than 80 people were shot that this government revised the number from 1 to 35. So we are dealing with a government of habitual liars who have no shame, and it is really, really sad that even up to now he will speak like that. It is for this reason, Peter, that this government has decided to shut down the internet up to now because they don't want us to share with you and the rest of the world the real image of what is happening in our country.
What is going on right now is clearly unsustainable, and hence the urgency that the envoys have been sent through to the country. And as you say, a lot of voices coming through. Do you get a sense that this might be the beginning of the end, or is this a struggle that will continue for some time, as we've seen in the past?
Well, I wish it was the beginning of an end, but history has shown, and my own belief is that it's still going to be darker before sunrise. It might be for some time, but I'll tell you where I get inspiration. Yes, we welcome and we are encouraged by the growing voices, but where I draw more inspiration is on the determination on the ground. Our people are resolved, Peter. Young people, old people, speaking in unison to say, now is the time Mswati must fall. He is not worth the crown as a king. His hands are dripping with blood. His indifference to the continuing brutalization of people make him unfit to remain a king of Swaziland.
In the middle of a crisis, one would have thought that the king would be the one appealing and speaking to the nation, but all we're hearing from are spokespeople. Why is that?
Well, he's a very afraid man. He's a cornered man. Whenever he comes out to speak, he makes a mockery of the suffering of our people by calling us drunkards, dagga smokers, and so on and so forth. I suspect that even his closest advisors are now discouraging him from speaking publicly because they are worried that it's going to add fuel to fire, because he is a man who is incapable of empathizing with the struggling people of Swaziland.
What can he do to fix things? What is it, do you think, that the people of Eswatini need and want as a non-negotiable?
Well, the people of Swaziland are very clear that first and foremost, we need an independent investigative inquiry around what happened from June 26 that led to so many Swazis being killed. The people of Swaziland are calling for accountability and justice. But also the people of Swaziland are agreed on the 5 key points as the way forward. One being that we need an international supervised and initiated all-inclusive dialogue. Secondly, the people of Swaziland are very clear that we need the total unbanning of political activity in Swaziland, including political parties. That must include the proscribed political party called the People's United Democratic Movement that is criminalized under the Suppression of Terrorism Act. Number 3, the people of Swaziland are clear that they need an interim government that is going to be the transitional authority during the time when, point number 4, we are drafting a new constitution that will be an embodiment and a reflection of the aspiration of the Swazi people. And finally, the people of Swaziland on point number 5 are very clear that they want multi-party democracy that must take place after a free and fair multi-party election. Obviously, Peter, before these 5 key points, one of the things that we're clear about is that we need to level the political playing field. And what do we mean about that? We mean that we want a situation where all imprisoned political prisoners, including our internationalist comrade Amos Mbete, our honorable members of parliament, Ebaqede and Mthandeni, we want the return of all political exiles. We want the withdrawal of all politically inspired criminal charges that have been preferred against all those who stood up and joined the fight against this repressive regime from the June 29 and even before. We think that leveling the political playing field and ensuring that the things we've just reflected on are done will enable that the 5 key points could be attended to without any hindrance.
Mr. Makhanya, that's where we're going to have to leave it. We wish you and the people of Eswatini some solution, a peaceful solution, and for the current carnage to end soon. Thank you so much indeed for joining us on the program.